Yeah, people could say what they want about Jimmy Ace, but I know back in the 80s, Jimmy Ace was a live dude. Barring them double life sentences that he got and not addressing issue of him snitching or not snitching, that's neither here or there. The brother was a live brother. When he was on the street in the 80s, he was well known. He was putting in work. He was a fox. He was somebody that if you was beefing with, you always had to look over your shoulder because you never know when he was coming. So now, fast forward to Rikers Island. When I got on the island, I think it was around 85 or thereabouts. Jimmy was on the island wreaking havoc. My own homie, when I arrived on Rikers Island, C-74, he made it known that he had problems with Jimmy Ace. Now, my homie's no punk, he's no pushover, but Jimmy Ace was a problem, just like he was a problem in the street. But he was a slippery dude. When you thought you had him, he'd always escape. Or when you had him boxed in, come out busting. So now, when I hear this brother coming up, becoming a mogul, Kazaa Entertainment, and having these different acts, I couldn't hate on the brother. I respected his hustle. No matter if we was different on different sides, I still respected his hustle. I still respected his accomplishments, seeing where he came from and where he was, what he achieved. He was up there with the stars. That within itself was an achievement. But, like somebody said, a lot of brothers hustle backwards. Now, you do the things that you deem necessary to get out of an impoverished situation and to elevate yourself and your family and your friends, those within your immediate circumference. But where a lot of people go wrong is once you rise above the streets, you're supposed to stop dealing with the streets. When you rise above the streets, you're supposed to be networking with people who have money so that you could get more money and more connections so you could help those less fortunate that's trying to raise up, trying to get up. You could lend them a hand and pull them up. But when you have that mentality, that street mentality, once that mentality is intact and it's not removed, it's not changed, it doesn't evolve, then you set yourself at a disadvantage because you're taking that mentality into a different environment. Now, I can say anything because I'm here. I'm not in that man's shoes, or never was, and never wanted to be. But once you became a music mogul, making millions of dollars, even if you was in the street transporting and trafficking drugs, keys from California to Atlanta to wherever, dealing with guns and having soldiers moving out on missions, and you feel the need to discipline Tupac, for slandering you, or you felt that the man slandered you because he said you was a hanger-on or a jocker or whatever, when there was different ways of handling it. When, okay, granted, you was in the street, you had that street mentality. You do what you need to do. But when you elevate above the street, then there's a different approach. You don't send henchmen to do dirty work, because when these dudes get caught up, they're going to talk. They might not talk now, but when they have these big cases where their freedom can be bargained for, then it's all about self-preservation. They're gonna cut that deal in, and you will become the victim. So now if you felt disrespected and that man had your name in the street, I'm pretty sure when you review all that and play that back in your mind, you'd have took a different course. You wouldn't have sent those brothers to hit him up in Quad Studios or whatever. Maybe you would have handled it with your lawyers or whatever. Let your lawyers handle it, or a lawsuit or whatever. When you legitimize, you can't use gangster tactics. It don't mix. It's like oil and water. Now, Jimmy's from Brooklyn. Spent his life in Brooklyn. He might have been born in Harlem, but Vanderveer claimed Jimmy Ace. Now, a lot of people turn evidence. A lot of people is wearing wiretaps. You could basically say his organizations crumbled from underneath him. What I look at is, I don't look at the crumbling of the organization, because that happens to most organizations. Organization is only as strong as its weakest link. What I look at is the brother was able to form that organization, right? And a lot of these organizations, whether they be illegal or whatever, it demonstrates that person's intelligence enough to put a structure like that together. Now, the travesty is that drugs is finding its way back into the community, and it's a legal action. But if we look at pharmaceutical companies today and what they're doing within the community, I don't see the difference. Everybody's pointing finger and try to get these so-called ghetto superstars and call them kingpins and whatever, and giving them life sentences. When jail and prison were supposed to be constructed for rehabilitation. Once a person, given the amount of time that he needs to change his mindset and rehabilitate, that individual is supposed to be rewarded and given back his freedom if he wins it, if he earns it. There's a double standard here. Pharmaceutical companies are the drug dealers of the world, responsible for numerous deaths and what have you, but nobody's bringing them up on charges. Nobody's investigating them. They be able to operate freely. So you got the brothers like Jimmy Ace. I'm not saying he's a victim. But what I am saying is that people become a product of the environment. The environment shapes them. Even if they climb out of that barrel, out of that environment, they go into another environment with the same mindset, which is poisonous. So in all actuality, they bring in that environment that they left from, that they rose above, into another environment, which is a contamination. If we're going to judge Jimmy Ace or anybody from an impoverished community, urban community, that turns around and destroys the community, this is learned behavior. No matter what the community, the behavior is the same. Now there's something wrong with that. That needs to be studied. That needs to be reversed if people is really genuine about changing the outcome. Because no matter what neighborhood you go to, once it's impoverished, the stories are the same. The players are different, but the stories are the same. So what is that saying? These environments is manufactured. These environments are breeding grounds. These environments are creating monsters. We have to change this. Instead of pointing fingers, we have to change this situation. The list is long. People will do what they deem necessary to try to rise above their situation. Point blank. Whatever it is, they will do whatever it takes to rise above the situation within their knowledge, within their know-how. Different strokes for different folks. Your personality and what you have inside you is what decides which course that you take in life. Everybody's not cut for the books. Everybody's not cut for the 9 to 5. And there's not enough 9 to 5 even if people was cut for it. I repeat, there's not enough 9 to 5s even if people are cut for the 9 to 5 living. So we being played. Jimmy Ace, like a lot of other ghetto youths, tragic stories that's manifesting every day. Like I said, the players are different, but the game is the same. We're being played. The people who can organize, strategize, and who are not afraid to act are being taken off the street systematically and placed in, warehoused in penitentiaries. These, regardless of their methods and the things that they did, were leaders within the community who just chose the path that they knew best to rise above their situation. I don't agree with the path, but I understand it. Many of us was on that path, same path, but were blessed that we were able to elevate ourselves and change the trajectory and course of which we was going. That's why I can't judge I could only understand because I was on that same road. But you have a lot of people that like to point fingers like they're above the situation. One incident can happen, one bad decision can happen that could land any one of us into the penitentiary. And it might not even be our fault. It might be somebody else's fault. So be careful what comes out your mouth. Be careful that you're not judgmental of people. We have to look at the bigger picture. How did this mentality, how did this dog-eat-dog mentality, how did this crab-in-a-barrel mentality come about? Who institutionalized that mentality? Who indoctrinated us with that mentality? That's what we're not looking at. Look at the bigger picture. Don't point the finger at your brother and call him a monster. Look at the components that came together to shape his mentality and his choices that he made. That's what you look at. And then look at the system that's putting away these brothers away for life with no chance of parole. Fathers, brothers, grandfathers, husbands being put on the shelf, being warehoused with no chance of parole, no chance of redemption. If I could change, anybody could change. And you have a lot of brothers that was walking that walk, was moving down that journey, moving down that same road, that path, and changed. So, therefore, those who've been incarcerated to long sentences, which are actually death sentences, have the capacity to change. I'm not saying all, but some, given the time to redeem themselves, could earn or should be able to earn their freedom. Everybody makes mistakes. Everybody makes bad choices. Everybody. Therefore, we have to be more tolerant with what we say. We have to be more conscious of what comes out our mouth. Don't be so quick to judge. We have to evaluate. As I said before, a lot of people find themselves in situations trapped by their lifestyle. The lifestyle that they live dictate the moves that they make, if they allow it to. Some people have the intellect to resist, and some people don't. The ones that don't fall victim to their own mentalities. So the victimizer, the aggressor, becomes the victim. You figure it out. Peace.